When Mother told us she was dying, we cried too hard for us to consider what she could possibly mean by us being cared for. We soon learned that Mother and Susan planned for the spider to be given 3 codes per year, casting sculptures in the first week of April, the first week of August, and the first week of December. This was so that she never saturated the market. In fact, it was well under what an artist normally produced. And I remember Patrick walking around the spider. The man practically screamed, "This is what you'll be known for! You'll be the first artist to live forever!" After Mother died, a select few of us attended the making of the first official Leftover Fun in April 2017. There was Anna Maria and I, Vicente, Susan, Patrick, his assistant Kelly, and, well, you. You want me to repeat all of that, but say who you were and not say you? Okay. Where was I? There was Anna Maria and I, Vicente, Susan, Patrick, his assistant Kelly, and Maggie, our designated guardian after Mother died. Anna Maria and I had seen the spider work many, many times. The fuss that the adults made over this particular session, it seemed overblown. Dozens of LFs already sat aside in a dusty corner, though it was dusty because many of the LF prototypes had already been pulverized by Vicente's sledgehammer. Others merely sat in shards. At the spider's feet, Patrick... By the way, at the time, Anna Maria and I primarily knew him as the man in the suit. He paced around the machine's perimeter. He was unable to stand still. Vicente stood up on the platform. He readied the clay. And Susan, she sat behind a laptop, though I could see her glancing over the screen, watching Patrick. I think he made her nervous. I think he made everyone nervous. Kelly squeezed a tablet against her chest, though she always seemed worried about one crisis or another, I suppose. Not just that. I'm a little surprised that Mother always suspected her of being a gorilla girl. And then Anna Maria, while she leaned against your leg, do you remember? She yelled, "What are you waiting for?" So Susan looked up at Vicente. He looked down at her, and they nodded at one another. She said, "I guess we're ready." Patrick said, "You guess?" He was practically frantic. Then Vicente hit the on button and waited for the printer to heat up. After a minute, he worked in the clay. It slowly eased down the hose and squeezed out of the extruder. And then he turned off the spider. Susan raised a towel to the spinneret. She wiped a gray bubble of clay from its tip. None had yet fallen to the floor. Patrick asked, "Is this what's supposed to happen?" Susan assured him that they were still putting everything into position. But the clay was ready now. The extruder could now follow along with each line of code. So Susan said, "All right, everybody." I watched all of the adults hold their breaths. Anna Maria and I still felt more or less perplexed by them all. Did they not see all of the clay already sitting there in the corner of the studio? We, of course, did not know that the printer worked correctly only once before that day. Susan hit one more key on her laptop. The spinneret mechanically lowered. It weaved its clay web, the clay emerging so smoothly that the extruder, clay, and floor all appeared as one connected object. The shape emerging from beneath the extruder's nozzle appeared to come from nowhere but a magician's sleeve. The spinneret slowly spun between the 8 legs, moving in circles, depositing a seemingly never-ending line of clay. It created a flat circle on the floor that gradually expanded as the spinneret made its solemn revolutions. After 15 minutes, there was a very thin circle of clay on the floor, about 3 feet in diameter. It was almost too difficult to see because it happened so fast, and this was the only action to happen fast. But once that first layer was finished, the code told the spinneret to rise up by just a fraction of a centimeter, and another layer was begun. Anna Maria and I went off to paint in another corner of the studio, but the adults stayed at the spider's feet for an hour, watching what we'd already seen too many times before. Then after growing bored of the paints, Anna Maria and I checked on the adults, and the spider had added very little to the first sculpture. Patrick asked, "So this is going to take 12 hours? All of the adults decided that they would reconvene then, and in the meantime, Susan and Vicente would monitor it on the hour. But then it became every half hour, and then every 10 minutes, and then they would not leave its side in its final hours. When everyone else returned that night, the adults smiled, very big. They ran to the sculpture like Anna Maria and I would run to gifts beneath a Christmas tree. The sculpture was finished. It only needed to be slid into the kiln to be fired." "It's a mason jar," Patrick said, perhaps unimpressed once he'd stopped in front of it. "A clay mason jar," he said. Susan, however, seemed relieved. "Yes," she said, "I guess it came out right then." Patrick paced around the jar, inspecting it. He asked, "Is there anything inside of it?" Susan rolled her lips into her mouth. She said, "Oh, well, Celia said I couldn't tell anyone. He said, 'You can't tell anyone what's in it?' She'd only say, 'I'm not supposed to say if anything's in it.' He pleaded with her, saying, 'But I'm her gallerist.'" Susan shrugged and tried to avoid eye contact with him. Patrick looked at Vicente. He asked him, "Do you know?" Vicente only said, "I'm not at liberty to tell." Then Patrick looked at both Anna Maria and I. He said, "I suppose you two won't tell me either." But Anna Maria and I really did not know what, if anything, was inside. All we knew was that there was a dull gray mason jar sitting beneath the spider. It was about 6 feet tall and 3 feet wide. You could not see through it, and we did not know if anyone could actually unscrew the lid from the top. But we did know that this was our mother's latest work, though not her last, made 6 months after she died.